Hey there, welcome to our very first solo show, the Healing Medicine Show. So, I want to thank you so much for joining us here today. The Healing Medicine Show is a platform for health and healing professionals not only to grow in their understanding and practice of what it means to be healers, but also to provide them with resources and inspiration for both personal and professional development practices, especially those that are rooted in holistic health. We believe that the change in healthcare starts by focusing on the health and the healing of the healthcare providers. So if you have a colleague who would enjoy this show, please send them the link. They can subscribe to our newsletter to get access to our shows. And we put out a weekly short show for health and healing professionals every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central Time. Today, I'm excited because I am doing the first solo show. My name is Dr. Blair Thielemeyer. I'm trained as a pharmacist, but also have an extensive background in holistic medicine. I've been studying Ayurvedic, meditation. I've been studying herbal plant medicine, indigenous plant medicine, and also yoga and other healing modalities. As a pharmacist, I was really interested in how do we use alternative and complementary medicine to supplement what we're doing in modern medicine today. So it's really about combining the ancient knowledge of Eastern medicine, where there's a lot of mind body connection, with the art of modern Western medicine, which is really focused on the body and the physical being. How do we combine those two to encompass something that creates a whole health model, an integration of the Eastern mind and psychological, emotional healing modalities with our modern medicine full of technology and all the amazing procedures that we have available to us in order to get to the root of real healing. So I want to encourage you today. We're talking about 3 tips for staying present as a healthcare professional. And there's many healthcare professionals that I talk to that say they're empaths, that they went into the healthcare field because they wanted to be able to serve others. And yet when they got into the healthcare industry, they weren't being met with the same care and attention and an awareness that they were bringing to the table. And so many of the clients that I work with are transitioning out of traditional employee healthcare models into freelance consulting, direct contracting, direct primary care type programs, that they have more autonomy and more freedom and flexibility and can focus on getting to the root of healing and figuring out how they want to practice in their own unique way as a healer and a healthcare professional. So there's 3 tips for staying present when we're having those conversations with our clients, when we're having conversations with family or loved ones, and when we're having conversations with ourselves. So let's start with number 1. Tip number 1, start by getting comfortable being present in your own body, getting present with yourself. So one of the things that we do on our healing medicine retreats is to practice sitting in meditation with a group and on our own, so that we can get used to self awareness as a daily practice. So as we get present, we can reflect on our feelings in that specific moment. If you're not sure how to reflect on how you're feeling in a meditation, I always recommend keeping a journal close by. Journal it out. Ask yourself, how am I feeling in this moment? And write it out. Stream of consciousness. Think about, oh, my chest is a little tight today, or I can't focus because my mind is wandering off to this conversation I had yesterday. Or maybe you're someone like me who does a lot of future-based thinking, and it becomes really hard to focus on the person who's in front of you right now because you feel like you're already steps ahead in your mind. So for me, this really came about when I was thinking about how I wanted to build my business. I realized that I wanted to build my business. I wanted to transition into entrepreneurship and work as a consultant so that I could spend more time with my three young kiddos. Yet, whenever I was having family time with my husband and with my kids, I was thinking about my business. And when I was working on my business, I was thinking about my family. So it became this self perpetuating cycle that I was having trouble breaking because I knew that that wasn't the state that I wanted to be in, but I wasn't sure where I wanted to be. So this is tip number one. Get quiet. Reflect on what's going on in the present moment with the person in front of you, with your own body. What's happening in the present? And is this the energy that you want to be bringing to your client or to your loved one? Decide where you're at now and decide where you want to be. So, this, for example, can look like, today I'm anxious because I've got a discovery call with a new potential client, but I don't want to, bring that anxious energy into that client conversation. So I want to transition that to feeling confident that I have a lot to offer this client and that I understand my value. Or right now I'm really scared that I'm going to be stuck in this job for the rest of my life. And that's not where I want to be. I want to feel excited about work. I want to feel challenged. I want to feel that every day is an opportunity to grow and learn new things. So as you're thinking about where you're at, spend just 5 minutes. Time prioritization is something that I talk a lot with my clients about because, we think meditation or yoga or self-care has to be this, hour-long thing, or it has to be self-care Sunday and I have to do it all day long. When really it's more effective if you bring small doses of it. Start low and go slow. That's our mantra in pharmacy, but we'll also use it when we're talking about intentionally building your business. So schedule these things out on your calendar, or put it in your paper planner. Have something to remind you. Have your journal by your bed and spend just 5 or 10 minutes each night really taking deep breaths, getting conscious with where you're at and how you're feeling in that moment. Because then you begin to learn what works for you to put yourself into that state of mind. I know if I need to crush this LinkedIn Live here today, I'm going to go turn on some Beyonce and I'm going to dance. And even though when I woke up, I didn't feel like Beyonce, after listening to her music and dancing and getting into that energetic state, I can come on to a program like this and be able to embody that, to be in that energetic state where I need to be and where I want to be. Journaling gets you into a thoughtful and reflective state of mind. Yoga can help you release this restless energy at the end of the day. Dancing helps you to raise that energy. And, even really getting aware of what works for you is such a self-care practice that's really underrated. So that's my second tip for you to help you stay present as a healthcare professional. If you're not feeling like you're in the energetic state to show up as who you need to show up for, as for your clients, for your patients, for your family members, learn what works for you to shift into that state of mind where you need to be. And then my third tip, I kind of touched on it, but create a system of scheduling time that you protect. Now, Amy Porterfield calls this tiger time, but it's 20 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever you can possibly afford to prioritize. Because when I hear people saying, I don't have time to eat healthy, I don't have time to build my business, I don't have time to do the things I want to do, I ask them, well, what does your schedule look like? Let's sit down and let's map out every single hour of the day that you're awake. And I know that sounds like, oh my goodness, that's such a huge undertaking. Maybe just start with Monday through Friday. If you're still working as a healthcare professional, if you're still employed in a job, what does that look like? Where do you have spaces that you can intentionally prioritize being able to sit, to get quiet, to move into the energetic state you need to be? Maybe it's in the car on your way home. Maybe it's adding another 10 minutes to your commute because you need that time to shift into parent mode. You need to shift into spouse mode or best friend mode or wherever you're going after work. So giving yourself the time and the space to shift into that. Because to stay in a constant state of rush and panic and worry and internal chaos, it's damaging. Chronic stress, long term, is what leads to chronic conditions. It's what leads to diabetes and hypertension and weight gain, heart attacks and cardiovascular disease. This chronic stress that we experience as healthcare professionals in a very high stress, very chaotic environment has an impact on our nervous systems, whether we like it or not. Call it stress-induced illness or unbalanced doshas or misaligned chakras or autonomic nervous system dysfunction. There's different ways to describe this internal state of chaos. So moving from how you're feeling in this moment, whether it's chaotic or anxious or whatever, to where you want to be, energized, excited, happy, hopeful, confident, to figure out how to just set aside 10 minutes or 5 minutes. I do this practice called intention setting. Before I get on a potential client call or a business call, I sit and I think, what is the intention that I want to get out of this conversation? And setting those intentions before we get on the call helps me to stay present, and it helps me to check in If this call or this meeting is going off the rails, I can think back, what was the intention of this meeting? And as a leader, I can redirect the focus and the energy to get back to that intention for what we were there to accomplish in the first place. So it helps you kind of avoid getting off on those rabbit trails that don't necessarily serve you. So, 3 tips just to recap and summarize in case you're joining us a little bit later here. This is our solo show on the Healing Medicine Show. 3 tips for staying present as a healthcare professional. 1, start with you. Start with your own practice. Start with getting comfortable in your own body. 2, learn what works for you to shift into new states of mind, to shift into where you want to feel and how you want to feel in the present moment. And 3, create a system of scheduling time that's just for you. And women, I'm not singling out women as only having this issue, but women as, especially as healthcare professionals and moms, we sometimes feel guilty for taking that time and for scheduling that time. And what I realized when I was building my business and I caught myself when I was with my kids thinking about my business, when I was working on my business, I was thinking about my kids. To be able to schedule that time and to protect that time and don't let the time bleed together, that was what was really balancing for me. And getting over the guilt that I was feeling goes back to the awareness around it and journaling it out. If that's an issue that's coming up for you, journaling it out of how you're feeling guilty around that can help you to stay more present in the time that you have and actually create more quality of time with your clients, with your loved ones, and with yourself. So, if you enjoyed this show, I know I enjoyed it. If you're interested in hearing more about how health and healing professionals can grow in their practice of what it means to be healers, you can subscribe to the Healing Medicine Show. We're here on LinkedIn as well as on the Pharmapreneur Academy YouTube channel. I would love to hear your feedback on which of these points resonated with you, what you would like to hear in future solo shows, and how you have tips that you would like to share for growing and staying present as a healthcare professional. Thank you so much for joining us here today, and I hope to see you again next Thursday at 1 p.m. Central Time on the Healing Medicine Show for a very special conversation with spiritual director and financially independent Douglas Soy is going to come in to talk about the concept of enoughness in our lives and how the concept of enoughness can help us to grow not only as healthcare professionals, but to grow into becoming the best versions of ourselves.